My name is Marita Poole. I am the director and curator at Clark Atlanta University Art Museum. I reached out to Patterson Pope because I was interested in transforming, or really renovating, the second floor of our gallery. We had the opportunity to have more space, which we hadn't had in over 20 years. And our neighbors before used this space as an office space. So it was an incredible room and like offices for what they did, but for us it didn't quite work as a museum. So imagine just your typical office, cubicles, cushions, like conference rooms, spaces where you would want to welcome people so that people could have conversations with each other and kind of think through their ideas. Well, we really needed something different, something at our institution that would allow people to have a closer connection with works of art that are currently not on view. Clark Atlanta University is fortunate to have one of the foremost collections of African American art from the 1940s because of an event called the Atlanta Annuals that happened from 1942 to 1970. But most people don't know this, and on any given day, we can only show about a third of our collection. So often, if people who do know about us or who are curious about us come to our institution, they may want to go into the gallery to see something that's not on view. So what I wanted was to have a space for two primary reasons. One, so that anyone from the public interested in seeing something that was within our power to show them, that they would have a space where they could have an intimate connection with that work. They could look at it, spend as much time as they would like with the work in a private room just to enjoy it so they could see one of the great pieces from our collection. But two, because we're a university, I wanted a space where scholars, researchers, and most of all professors could bring their class so that they could have specific works that fit with their curricula. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to be in conversation with Dick Beery to explain my vision. And we really had a couple of challenges in the beginning. And the challenge was mostly an issue of, I don't know how you say it, it's like vision. So it's kind of a thing where when people are used to looking at something in a particular way, because keep in mind the rooms have been this way for over 20 years. And then I came in and I said, no, but we really need this for something else. They couldn't imagine what I meant. I mean, and the term that's used in the museum world for this space is object study classroom. But an object study classroom doesn't mean anything to the broader public. Most people, it doesn't resonate. So it was a matter of trying to figure out how to find the language to convey to people on campus as well as off campus what I was intending to do. So with Dick, we just kind of went back and forth talking through it, and he would draw up the designs, but more importantly, he gave me the language to speak to people in facilities to explain what I needed. So it was really just a matter of almost like working together with a member of your staff to help me to find what I needed so that we could create what we want people to see. So I wanted to brighten up the space so I could kind of mimic a canvas because we're focusing on art, but also mimic like gallery walls and kind of the old traditional white cube, which I know people push against these days, but sometimes it has its uses that can be really cool. And in terms of like, I guess campus spirit is really great because Clark Atlanta's colors are red, white, and gray. So we kind of really wanted to kind of draw out things that would allow that to happen. So I think one of the things that people will notice immediately when they look at the space now is just the brightness and how we're able to play on like the windows and the natural light. Now we don't do that when the art is in the room. We tend to keep the blinds closed and the shades down and things like that for conservation reasons. So behind me, or to, I guess, my left, you see like a few works that are really critical for the development of the collection. So let me go back a second. So when you think about this thing, the Atlanta Annuals, a lot of the artists who participated in this event in the 1940s are now the creme de la creme, your canonical artists of African American art. Charles White, Romare Bearden, Elizabeth Catlett, Lois Maylou Jones. Now they're considered to be the norm. They're the people in the books, but back then they were just starting out. A lot of them wanted people to know about their work and they wanted serious engagement. And this is what Atlanta University allowed. And as a result, we have works of these artists from their early days and as they evolved through time because they hadn't developed a signature style. So essentially, what this room allows us to do is, when possible, to look at artists over time and through time. It allows us to give people an opportunity. If we have someone who says, I really adore Lois Maylou Jones and I understand you have 5 of her works in your collection, could I see them? We can install them so that people can come to the museum and spend time with it. For scholars and researchers, this is particularly important. So if you think about it, what we've really created is almost like an archival space and a study space. And this couldn't have been possible without really working through the plans and the design and thinking it through with Dick Berry from Patterson Pope. This room is not only for classroom or for researchers or for scholars. This primary function is an object study classroom, but because of the needs of our institution and to respond to our various audiences and publics, we also use it sometimes for receptions or events. And what the products from Patterson Pope allow us that we really enjoy is, well, it's almost like we were brought into the 21st century. Before we had those long tables, those 6 to kind of 8 feet tables, all wood, and we'd have to carry them or we'd have to get movers to come. Now everything's on wheels. Now everything can be flipped. Everything can, be compressed into our storage with ease and we still have space. So it really allows us to use this as a multi-purpose space. We do use it for meetings and conferences as it was before, but we also use it for studying as well. And we also use it for events. We also now are really seriously thinking about, can we use it as an extension of the gallery to do other exhibitions and storage. It allows us to be responsive to the various requests that we receive because the ways that people interact with the museum are very different than they did in the mid-20th century. And so we try to think as carefully as possible about ways in which we can connect people with our art collection and with the space so that they can have the best experience possible and we get the best of all worlds. This storage area, which was actually created in 1996 when we did the renovations for the gallery by Space Saver Corporation, has been one of the most important things for our museum. And the reason why I say that is historically this was the gallery. So if upstairs was the reading room in the library, this was the only space where people could show work back in the 1940s when the Atlanta Annual started. And the doors were glass, and so people could come in and out and they could see this was the gallery space. But what I wanted was something new. I wanted to find a way, one, where we could increase the storage because we've grown from a museum that had only about 500 objects to a museum with almost 2,000 objects. And we were really having a hard time just storing it. I don't have another way to say it, or making it accessible not only to the public but also to ourselves so that we could see what's here as we're developing exhibitions. So what I wanted when I reached out to Patterson Pope was for us to have more storage space. And it was inspired by an exhibition that I was doing of contemporary lithographer Joseph Norman. Joseph Norman does these large scale works, or at least during this period these are his works from the late 1990s. And they had never been shown, although they've been in our collection since 2000. And the rationale for not showing them was simply the size and the problems of trying to figure out where would we store them after they were framed. But because I was thinking through the medium of printmaking and specifically the lithograph, I thought there's no better artist in our collection than Joseph Norman to kind of present that to the public as someone who's been very thoughtful about the ways he engages the printmaking tradition as well as the African American aesthetic tradition and his concerns with kind of the social problems that face our community. So again, I met with Dick Berry and we talked about it, showed him the area and the racks that were done in 1996 for around the time of the Olympics when we renovated the space upstairs that's now our primary gallery space. but the company had evolved, and you guys had now gone to a different stage where you no longer make the racks in that way. While they're similar, there's a slight variations. They're lighter, actually, less clunky to move, really, yeah, just quieter. I don't know if that meant, I mean, a lot quieter. What has happened as a result of this installation of these 8 new racks is that we're now able to show works that couldn't be shown before. We're much more comfortable with using them in the space. I'm much more comfortable with working with students who often are helping with like the installations along with contractors. The representatives that came from the company, they were able to look at what we had in the existing hardware and to come up with a solution that we could afford. One where they could kind of take our existing structure and build around it. It took maybe 2 tries, but ultimately we're very, very pleased with what they've been able to do and the fact that we can show more of our collection, which is ultimately our goal, to make sure that people have the opportunity to learn more about African American art. This is the beginning of what I perceive as a multi-stage project. So right now, we only have the slat walls and the tables for the object study classroom, which is now becoming a multi-purpose room. We do not have things upstairs that are for works on paper. We don't have the cabinets that I want yet. But I felt like it was okay to just get started and to say, okay, with where I am and with these resources, what's the priority? And what can we do that will actually make our institution a much better place and ultimately get people more exposed to our collection, which is what is the most important thing that we do. It's just been such a wonderful experience, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Way to go.